These are the points you have to remember for side determination and anatomical position of the scapula. Very important, write down these 3 points, okay. If you cannot hold it in anatomical position, you will not be asked any further question, okay. So remember these points very carefully. So how will you determine the side? The glenoid cavity, it faces laterally forward and slightly upward at an angle of 45 degree from the coronal plane, okay. And the coracoid process is directed forward and the sail-like spinous process is directed posteriorly, okay, understood? So these are the 3 points you have to understand for the anatomical position. So this is a scapula of the right side, okay. Its anatomical position, it is in gun holding position like this, okay. You can see this is anterior surface or costal surface lies against the ribs. Here is the posterior surface or dorsal surface where the spine is located, okay. And this is the glenoid fossa. Glenoid fossa is directed laterally, slightly anteriorly and upward, slightly upward, okay. And you can see in this anatomical position, the plane of the scapula forms an angle of 45 degree with the coronal plane. Here is the coronal plane is lying like this. So this plane of the scapula is forming an angle of 45 degree with the coronal plane, okay. And this is the coracoid process. Coracoid process is projecting directly forward. It looks like a bent finger. So you can see the 3 borders and surfaces. See, here is the superior border. This is lateral border and here is the medial border, okay. And 3 angles you can see. This is superior angle lying between this superior border and the medial border. Here is the inferior angle lying between the lateral border and medial border. And here is the lateral angle or glenoid angle lying between the superior border and the lateral border. Here you can see the pear-shaped glenoid fossa. And 3 processes you remember, this is spine of the scapula attached to the dorsal surface of the scapula. This is acromion process, which is a projecting part from the lateral end of this spine, okay. So this flat quadrangular shaped process is the acromion process, and this bent finger like process, this is the coracoid process. And at the junction of this coracoid process and the superior border, here is one notch. One notch you can see here, this is known as suprascapular notch. This notch is converted into a foramen by the transverse scapular ligament, okay. And through this foramen passes the suprascapular nerve, and above this transverse scapular ligament passes the suprascapular vessels. So vessels are lying outside the foramen and nerve is lying within the foramen. Vessels need to expand during the blood flow, they need to constrict and expand. So that is not possible if they are lying within the foramen. That's why the vessels are lying outside the foramen and suprascapular nerve is passing through this foramen. Okay, so this is suprascapular notch, and near this suprascapular notch one muscle attachment is there, inferior belly of omohyoid. Omohyoid muscle we will discuss during head neck portion. It is a neck muscle, strap muscles of the neck. So here is attachment of inferior belly of the omohyoid muscle, okay. Next we will discuss the processes in details and the muscle attachment of these other surfaces, okay. So everyone has understood the anatomical position. So it is gun holding position like this. Form a angle of 45 degree with the coronal plane. Here is the coronal plane. You form a angle of 45 degree with the coronal plane. And note these points. This glenoid cavity is facing laterally, slightly forward and slightly upward. And this coracoid process, it is projecting directly forward. Okay. So these are the points you have to remember for anatomical position and side determinants. So this is scapula of right side and here is the scapula of the left side. Okay, this is scapula of left side. Always remember you have to put the spine posteriorly. Spine is always posteriorly or placed on the dorsal surface. Okay, understood? Yes. Plane of the scapula. This is plane of the scapula. It is a flat bone, so this is the plane of the scapula. It is forming a angle of 45 degree with this coronal plane. Okay, understood. So we will discuss the individual borders, their attachments and angles, their attachments like this and the processes. After that we will discuss the processes. So first we will discuss the borders. First is superior border or superior margin. It is the upper edge of the scapula that runs next to the clavicle. You can see this is scapula and clavicle will articulate with the scapula like this. So in this position you can see scapula superior border is lying almost parallel to the clavicle. Okay. So superior border or margin is the upper edge of the scapula that runs next to the clavicle and the omohyoid muscle attaches near the suprascapular notch. We have discussed here. This is suprascapular notch, here is the superior border, here is the attachment of omohyoid. Okay, it has two bellies, superior and inferior belly. So here is attachment of inferior belly of the omohyoid muscle. Next is medial border. Here is the medial border. Medial border or medial margin, it is the medial edge of the scapula and it is also called the vertebral border. So because it lies near the vertebral column, that's why medial border is also known as vertebral border. And this area is an attachment point for the levator scapulae, rhomboid major, rhomboid minor on the dorsal aspect and serratus anterior muscle on the ventral aspect. See, from this superior angle up to this apex of the spine, here is attachment of levator scapulae. Then there is rhomboid minor and rhomboideus major on this dorsal aspect. This is dorsal view and on the ventral aspect there is attachment of serratus anterior muscle. Next, lateral border or lateral margin. Here is the lateral border or lateral margin. It is the lateral edge of the scapula and the teres minor, teres major muscle attaches along this border on the dorsal aspect and it is also called the axillary border. See, almost upper 2/3 gives attachment to the teres minor. Okay, and here two sleeves of the teres minor is attached and in between the two sleeves there is a depression along this border here. Here is a depression for the circumflex scapular vessels. Okay, mainly the circumflex scapular artery in between the two sleeves of the teres minor in the upper 2/3 and lower 1/3 gives attachment to the teres major. Here is the attachment of the teres major. So lateral border gives attachment to teres minor and teres major attaches along this border on the dorsal aspect and it is also called the axillary border because it lies near the axilla. Okay. Next we go to the angles of the scapula. First is superior angle. Here is the superior angle. It is a sharp curvature at the junction of superior border and medial border. Superior border and medial border. At this junction of these two borders, superior angle is lying. And this area is an attachment point for levator scapulae. We have discussed previously. Here is attachment of the levator scapulae. Next, go to the lateral angle. Here is the lateral angle, also known as the glenoid angle, formed by the glenoid cavity. So it is the junction of the superior border and lateral border, and it is slightly concave. Lateral edge forming the glenoid fossa, which articulates with the head of the humerus, okay, forming the shoulder joint, which is a ball and socket type of joint. Next is the inferior angle. Here is the inferior angle. It is a sharp curvature formed at the junction of the medial and lateral margin. Here, this is lateral margin. Here is the medial margin. At this junction, inferior angle is lying. It is an area of attachment for the teres major and latissimus dorsi. Here along the lateral border, teres major is extending up to the inferior angle, and at this angle, latissimus dorsi muscle is attached on the dorsal aspect, and 5 sleeves of serratus anterior muscle on the ventral aspect. Okay, ventral aspect along the borders, only one muscle is attached. Along the medial border, serratus anterior muscle is attached. First sleeve is from this superior angle to this apex of the scapula, then 2 sleeves along this medial margin, and rest of the 5 sleeves at the inferior angle. So it arises by 8 sleeves. 5 at the inferior angle, 2 here and 1 is here. Okay. So serratus anterior muscle is attached along the medial border on the costal aspect or anterior aspect of the scapula. All other muscles along the margins are attached on the dorsal aspect. Okay. Now we go to the processes of the scapula. So borders and angles we have discussed along with their attachments. First is the scapular spine. It is a long ridge that runs diagonally across the upper posterior surface of the bone, and the trapezius muscle is attached along the upper lip of the crest of the spine, and posterior fibers of the deltoid muscles are attached along the lower lip of the crest of the spine, attached to the crest of the spine. Next is the acromion process. Who is talking? Don't talk. You don't want to listen, you leave the class. Next is the acromion process. It is a lateral fan-like extension of the spine. Here, this is acromion process, which is a fan-like extension of the spine. It also is an attachment point for the trapezius and posterior fiber of the deltoid. Along this is crest of the spine, mainly we are seeing from the posterior aspect. It has a upper lip and a lower lip. Along the upper lip there is insertion of the trapezius muscle, okay, and this insertion also extends along this medial border of the acromion process. Next, along the lower lip of the crest of the spine there is origin of the deltoid muscle, and this origin is also extending along the lateral margin of the acromion process. Okay, understood? So along this border, origin of the deltoid muscle, and along the upper lip and medial border of the acromion process, insertion of the trapezius muscle. Okay, understood? Next we go to the coracoid process. This is coracoid process. It is a curved hook-like. You can see here hook-like and anterolateral projection located above the lateral angle. This is lateral glenoid cavity is forming the lateral angle. So it is lying just above this lateral angle. Now we will discuss these individual processes in details. So spine of the scapula. Spine has two surfaces, superior surface and inferior surface. See, this is the anatomical position. Here is the spine of the scapula. Okay, spine is a triangular self-like projection on the posterior aspect of the scapula. So it has a superior surface and an inferior surface. Anterior border, which border is attached to the dorsal aspect of the scapula, and posterior border is forming the crest of the spine, and there is a lateral border here. Lateral border is also known as the base of the spine, and it is forming a part of the notch known as spinoglenoid notch. Spinoglenoid formed by the spine and glenoid, in between the spine and glenoid fossa. Here is the spine, here is the glenoid fossa. So this notch is the spinoglenoid notch, very frequently asked. And which structures are passing through this spinoglenoid notch? Suprascapular vessels and suprascapular nerve. After passing through this suprascapular foramen, all these three structures are also passing through this spinoglenoid notch. Okay, this is asked in your viva. Okay, and this part is known as the apex of the spine. Apex is lying at T3 vertebral level. T3 means third thoracic vertebral level. So that's how you determine the vertebral level. So scapula was extending from 2nd to 7th rib. Superior angle will be at the 2nd rib, inferior angle will lie at the 7th rib, and this apex of the spine is lying at T3 vertebral level, third thoracic vertebral level. So we have understood the parts of the spine. It has an anterior border attached on the dorsal aspect of the scapula. Posterior border is forming the crest of the spine, and lateral border or base is forming the spinoglenoid notch. And two surfaces, superior surface, inferior surface. Superior surface is forming part of the supraspinous fossa, provides attachment to the muscle of sameness, supraspinatus, and inferior surface is forming part of the infraspinous fossa and provides attachment to the infraspinatus muscle. Okay, and on the anterior aspect, this fossa is known as subscapular fossa. Okay, and in the subscapular fossa you can see some muscular ridge. Okay, muscular ridge provides attachment to the muscle fiber and increases the strength of the muscle. So this we have discussed. So spine has two surfaces. Superior surface provides origin to supraspinatus. Inferior surface provides origin to infraspinatus. Three borders are there. Anterior border attached to the dorsal surface of the scapula. Posterior border, also known as crest of the spine. Okay, crest of the spine has upper lip. Here is insertion of trapezius muscle, we have seen previously, and lower lip there is origin of the posterior fibers of the deltoid muscle. And those who have bone sets, you bring the bone in your class. Okay, which bone you will be taught, that you should bring in your class so that you can understand clearly. Okay, so tomorrow we will discuss humerus. Everyone should bring, those who have those bones, bring the humerus, and along the humerus you can bring the scapula and radius ulna, because there is articulation with the humerus, scapula and radius ulna. Okay. So lateral border, so posterior border we have discussed, also known as crest of the spine, has an upper lip and lower lip. Lateral border or base of the spine, it bounds the spinoglenoid notch, and there is apex. Apex lies at the medial border of the scapula and at the level of the T3 spine. Okay. Next we go to the acromion process. Acromion process projects forward almost at the right angle from the lateral end of the spine and overhangs the glenoid cavity. See here, this is spine. From the lateral end of the spine, this process is the acromion process. It has a medial border, one lateral border. At the anterior end of the medial border, there is an oval facet for articulation with the clavicle. Clavicle will articulate along the medial border at this oval facet, and this part is known as the tip of the acromion process, and it has a superior surface and a inferior surface. Superior surface is rough, inferior surface is smooth, and it lodges a bursa, subacromion bursa. Okay, and muscle attachments are there. I am discussing it. So, acromion process has a tip. Along the tip of the acromion, here is the tip of the acromion. Tip gives attachment to coracoacromial ligament, and it is attached to the tip of the acromion. Coracoacromial ligament connects these two processes. You can see from the name coracoacromial. Connect the coracoid process with the acromion process. Okay, so it is forming a arch-like structure. Okay, formed by this coracoid process, coracoacromial ligament, and this acromion process. And below this arch lies the subacromion bursa and the tendon of the supraspinatus muscle. So, tip gives attachment to coracoacromial ligament. Superior surface, it is rough and subcutaneous. Here is the superior surface, rough and subcutaneous. Next is inferior surface. Here is the inferior surface. It is smooth and related to the subacromial bursa. Next is borders. Medial and lateral borders continue with the upper and lower lips of the crest of the spine of the scapula respectively. So here you can see medial border is extension of the upper lip of the crest of the spine, and lateral border is extension of the lower lip of the crest of the spine. Okay. So medial border, here is insertion of trapezius muscle, and this circular facet near the tip articulates with the lateral end of the clavicle. You have seen. Next is the lateral border, gives origin to the intermediate fibers of the deltoid muscle. Deltoid has three types of fibers. Like this, the clavicle is articulating with the scapula. These articulations are also asked in your viva table. You will have viva table for bones. Okay. So this is how the clavicle is articulating with the scapula. Deltoid muscle has three types of fibers. Anterior fibers are originating from the clavicle. Intermediate fiber from this acromion process, lateral border of the acromion process, and posterior fibers originating from this lower lip of the crest of the spine. Okay, like this, these three types of fibers are originating. They are meeting at a point and getting inserted into this V-shaped deltoid tuberosity of the humerus. Okay, and forming the rounded contour of our shoulder. So, lateral border gives origin to the intermediate fibers of the deltoid muscle. Next is the acromial angle. This is an important point for your surface marking. Where it is present, it is the junction of lateral border of the acromion and lower lip of crest of the spine. It is an important bony landmark for different measurements. Okay, this acromial angle is important for measurement of the arm or measurement of the upper limb. Different anthropometric measurements are done from this point, acromial angle. So, this sharp bend between the lower lip of the crest of the spine and the lateral border of the acromion, here is the acromial angle. This is acromial angle, and here is the tip of the acromial. Those are two separate points. Don't confuse between these two. Okay, understood? Tip gives attachment to one ligament. We have discussed previously, coracoacromial ligament. Next we go to the coracoid process, third process. It provides attachment to 3 muscles and 3 ligaments. Short head of biceps brachii and coracobrachialis are attached to the tip of the coracoid process. Among these two muscles, coracobrachialis is lying medial to the short head of biceps. That is also important for your viva. It is asked, okay. These two muscles are together arising from this tip of this coracoid process. Which one is medial, which one is lateral? It is asked, okay. So, coracobrachialis is medial to the biceps. Arise from its tip by a common tendon. Pectoralis minor muscle is inserted on the medial border of the upper surface. Okay. So, here in this anatomical position, this is coracoid process. It has a tip, one medial border and one lateral border, an upper surface and a lower surface. Okay. Tip, medial border, lateral border, upper surface and lower surface. These are the presenting parts of this coracoid process. So, this pectoralis minor muscle is inserted on the medial border of the upper surface here. Along the medial border of the upper surface, pectoralis minor muscle is attached, inserted. The coracoacromial ligament is attached to its lateral border. Here, coracoacromial ligament is connecting coracoid process to this tip of acromion, coracoacromial ligament. Next, coracohumeral ligament is attached to its root adjacent to the glenoid cavity. See, here is the root. Root means its junction with the other part of the bone. This is the root of the coracoid process. Near the glenoid cavity, here is attachment of the coracohumeral ligament. Next is coracoclavicular ligament, also known as rhomboid ligament. It has two parts, conoid part and trapezoid part. This ligament you have learned during the clavicle. You have heard about this ligament. Clavicle is covered. You have heard about this ligament in clavicle. So, other end of this ligament is attached over this coracoid process, coracoclavicular, connecting these two bones. That is why the name is given. So, where the two parts are attached, conoid part is attached to the knuckle. This is the knuckle. Knuckle means bent, okay, knuckle of the fingers. It is a bent finger-like structure, this coracoid process. So, near this bent, the conoid part of the ligament is attached, and the trapezoid part is attached to a ridge on its superior aspect between the pectoralis minor muscle and coracoacromial ligament. Here on the superior surface, trapezoid part is attached. Okay. In between the two, one was attaching along the medial border, one was attaching along the lateral border. Superior surface, the trapezoid part is attached. So, these are the attachment of different muscles and ligaments over the coracoid process. Okay, understood? Now, we go to the fossas. 3 fossas are there. Everything are almost 3 in number except the surfaces. Surfaces are 2, costal and dorsal surface. Rest of the thing all are 3 in number for the scapula. 3 angles, 3 borders, 3 fossas, 3 processes like this. Okay. So, 3 fossas are supraspinous fossa. Above the spine is the supraspinous fossa. It is slightly depressed area located superior to the spine, and the supraspinatus muscle attaches to this region of the scapula. See here on the dorsal aspect above the spine, this is supraspinous fossa, gives attachment to supraspinatus muscle. Next is infraspinous fossa below the spine. Here is the infraspinous fossa, gives attachment to the infraspinatus muscle. So, infraspinous fossa is a large, slightly depressed area located inferior to the spine, and it serves as an attachment point for the infraspinatus muscle. Next is subscapular fossa on the costal aspect. This fossa is the subscapular fossa. So, this subscapular fossa is a large, slightly depressed region in the middle of the scapula's anterior surface. and the subscapularis muscle attaches to this region of the bone. Okay, so 3 muscle in 3 fossa. Supraspinatus in the supraspinous fossa, infraspinatus in the infraspinous fossa, subscapularis in the subscapular fossa. You have understood the position of these fossas. These are also important for viva. Now these are some important features of the scapula. First is the suprascapular or scapular notch here along the superior border at the junction of superior border with the coracoid process. This notch is the scapular notch, also known as suprascapular notch. So it is a small groove located medial to the coracoid process. Here medial to the coracoid process, converted into a foramen by transverse ligament. It forms a passageway for the suprascapular nerve, and suprascapular vessels passes above the transverse ligament. Okay. Next is glenoid cavity or fossa. Here is the glenoid cavity or glenoid fossa, pear-shaped, you can see. It is a pear-shaped concavity at the lateral angle. It forms a shallow socket for articulation of the head of the humerus. Next is infraglenoid tubercle and supraglenoid tubercle. Infraglenoid tubercle means it lies just below the glenoid cavity. Supraglenoid tubercle is lying just above the glenoid cavity. So infraglenoid tubercle, it is a small prominence on the inferior margin of the glenoid fossa. It serves as an attachment point for the long head of the triceps brachii. Infraglenoid tubercle, long head of triceps brachii, and supraglenoid tubercle, a small prominence on the superior margin of the glenoid fossa. It gives origin to long head of the biceps brachii muscle. Okay. So above the glenoid, biceps brachii, below the glenoid, infraglenoid tubercle, triceps brachii, long head, both the long heads, long head of biceps brachii, supraglenoid tubercle, long head of triceps brachii, infraglenoid tubercle. Biceps and triceps are very important muscles of the arm. Okay. Now anastomosis around the scapula. This comes as a short note. Okay, also can be asked in your viva sometimes. So how it is formed? Around the scapula, collateral anastomosis are observed between the branches of first part of the subclavian artery and the branches of third part of the axillary artery in these following regions. See here, this is subclavian artery, first part, it is continuing downward as the axillary artery. Okay. From where it is continuing as the axillary artery? From the lateral margin of the first rib. Okay. It is continuing downward as the axillary artery. Both the arteries are divided into 3 parts, first, second, third part of the subclavian artery. Also there is first, second, third part of the axillary artery. Okay. So here anastomosis occurred from the branches from the first part of subclavian artery and branches from this third part of the axillary artery. Here you can see from the first part of subclavian artery, one branch is the thyrocervical trunk. It is dividing into deep branch of the transverse cervical artery and the suprascapular artery. Suprascapular vessels are passing near this suprascapular notch, and this deep branch of transverse cervical artery, it is passing along the medial border of the scapula. And here from the third part of axillary artery, you can see it gives a branch subscapular artery. Okay. Subscapular artery, it is giving one circumflex branch known as circumflex scapular artery winding round the lateral border of the scapula and forming a depression here. And this circumflex scapular artery is lying between the 2 sleeves of the teres minor muscle. And here is the thoracodorsal artery. It is subscapular artery is dividing into circumflex scapular and the thoracodorsal artery. So they are, all these branches are together forming different, it is giving multiple branches and forming anastomosis in these three fossas of the scapula. Supraspinous fossa, infraspinous fossa, subscapularis fossa, and also over this acromion process the anastomosis is occurring. So in each of the subscapular, supraspinous and infraspinous fossa and also over the acromion process the anastomosis is occurring. In the three fossas, these arteries are lying: suprascapular artery, here suprascapular artery, deep branch of transverse cervical artery, here is deep branch of transverse cervical artery, branch from thoracocervical trunk of subclavian artery. With the circumflex scapular artery. Here is from here coming the circumflex scapular artery, which arise from subscapular artery, further branch from third part of axillary artery and go to the infraspinous fossa. And over the acromion process, here also one anastomosis is present. Here these branches are present. Acromial branch of suprascapular artery giving a branch, acromial branch from the subclavian artery, and thoracoacromial artery, here is the thoracoacromial artery, and posterior circumflex humeral artery, which is a branch from axillary artery. Here is the posterior circumflex humeral artery. This is also coming out from this third part of axillary artery. Okay. So this anastomosis is important for your theory. It generally comes as a short note. Okay. Rest of the part previously we have discussed, those part are important for your viva. Now this is also important, joints formed by the scapula. It is taking part in two joints, shoulder joint formed between the glenoid cavity and head of the humerus. It is a ball and socket type of synovial joint. See here, this is glenoid cavity and here is the head of the humerus. Head of the humerus is forming the ball and the glenoid cavity is forming the socket. So like this it is forming the shoulder joint, which is a ball and socket type of synovial joint. And another joint is the acromioclavicular joint formed between the acromion process of scapula and acromial end of clavicle. It is a plain type of synovial joint. See here, acromial end of the clavicle articulates with the acromion process of scapula, forming this plain type of synovial joint known as the acromioclavicular joint. Okay, understood? See here the different presenting parts. Three borders: superior border, medial border, lateral border, three angles: superior angle, inferior angle, lateral angle or glenoid fossa, supraglenoid tubercle, infraglenoid tubercle, suprascapular notch. Here is the coracoid process, acromion process. This is costal aspect. So this is subscapular fossa. Here is dorsal aspect. You can see the spine, supraspinous fossa, infraspinous fossa. Okay. Now we go to the ossification. Ossification of the scapula. Okay, it is not much important, but you just know the how many ossification centers are present. Ossification of the clavicle is very important. Humerus ossification is very important. You remember carefully for humerus and clavicle. Okay. So ossification of scapula, it ossifies from 8 centers, 1 primary center and 7 secondary center. Primary center means those centers which appears before birth, and secondary centers are those which appears after birth. Okay. So primary centers appears in the body at 8th week of intrauterine life, and secondary centers are appear near these regions. So primary centers are appears in the body of the scapula. That means in the middle part. This part is known as the body of the scapula, and this glenoid cavity is known as head of the scapula. Okay, that is sometimes asked in your viva. What is head of the scapula? So secondary centers are 2 for the coracoid process, here 2 centers, 2 for the acromion process, 1 center appear each in the medial border and inferior angle and lower part of the rim of the glenoid cavity. Medial border, inferior angle and lower part of rim of the glenoid cavity, 3 centers. Okay, so total there is 8 center, 1 primary center and 7 secondary center. And the primary center in the body appears at 8th week of intrauterine life, and first secondary center appears in the coracoid process, here coracoid process in the first year of postnatal life, first year of age, okay, of the child, and they fuse at the age of 15 years, and other centers fuse with the body of the scapula by 28th year of age, okay. Now we will see the muscles related to the scapula. If you see the muscles, you can clearly remember the origin and insertion, where they are originating and inserting. Okay. Today you go and read these topics from your book, otherwise you will forget everything. Every day's topic you try to complete on that day, okay, or next day. Anatomy is very volatile, read regularly, otherwise you will forget everything. And prepare, if you can prepare your own notes. Okay, so first we will discuss the muscles that abduct the upper arm. 2 muscles, deltoid and supraspinatus. So deltoid, it originates from 3 types of fiber we have discussed previously. Here is the location of the deltoid muscle, forming the rounded contour of the shoulder joint. So anterior unipinnate fibers arise from the upper surface and anterior border of lateral 1/3 of the clavicle. Median or multipinnate part from the lateral margin and upper surface of the acromion process, and posterior unipinnate part from the lower lip of the crest of the spine of the scapula. Insertion into the V-shaped deltoid tuberosity of the humerus. Here is insertion of the deltoid. Next is nerve supply. And these muscles can come as a short note in your theory. Deltoid is very important muscle. Okay. So if a muscle comes as a short note, you have to write down the 4 points: origin, insertion, nerve supply and action. All these 4 points you have to know. Also in your OSPI question, in practical exam, OSPI question also you have to identify the muscle in your dissected body, and also you have to write down these 4 points. It will carry 2 or 3 marks like this, okay. So you remember the 4 points for every muscle. So insertion into the deltoid tuberosity, V-shaped deltoid tuberosity of the humerus. Nerve supply is axillary nerve. Action, it acts as main muscle for abduction of the shoulder joint, and its anterior part is flexor, medial rotator of the humerus, while posterior part is extensor and lateral rotator of the humerus. Next is supraspinatus. Here from the supraspinous fossa it was originating, supraspinatus. It lies deep to the trapezius muscle, arises from supraspinous fossa of the scapula. Fibers process above the shoulder joint. Here is the shoulder joint, you can see articulation between the glenoid fossa and head of the humerus. So this muscle is lying over the shoulder joint. Fibers process above the shoulder joint and is inserted into the greater tubercle of the humerus. It stabilizes the shoulder joint and abducts the humerus, supplied by the suprascapular nerve. Okay, understood? Next we go to these muscles, those adduct the upper arm. Those two were abductor of the shoulder joint or abductor of the arm. Abduction means away from the body. Adduction means coming nearby to the midline. Okay, adduction. So these are helping in adduction. Pectoralis major, latissimus dorsi, teres major, subscapularis. We have learnt their attachment. So first is pectoralis major. Here, this is the location of pectoralis major. Origin is from sternal half of the clavicle. See, here is the clavicle, sternal half of the clavicle, anterior surface. Upper half of the sternum, midline bone is the sternum, upper half of the sternum, and aponeurosis of external oblique. External oblique was originating from those ribs. Okay, so aponeurosis is also lying here. So this muscle is also originating from this aponeurosis of external oblique. This is one flat muscle of the abdomen, external oblique, and inserting into the lateral lip of the intertuberculous sulcus. Tomorrow we will discuss humerus. So this intertuberculous sulcus is part of the upper end of the humerus. Okay. So along the lateral lip there is insertion of this pectoralis major. Next is action. It helps in adduction, medial rotation and flexion of the shoulder joint. And nerve supply is medial and lateral pectoral nerve. These are the root value, C5 to C8 and T1. Root values you will learn during your brachial plexus. Okay, brachial plexus very important. It comes as a long question in your theory. Prepare very carefully. Okay, brachial plexus. All these are branch of brachial plexus. Next we go to latissimus dorsi. Here is the location of the latissimus dorsi. Okay, we have learned at the inferior angle there is origin of the latissimus dorsi. So it is a very broad, flat and triangular muscle in the lower back, overlapped by the lower part of the trapezius, originates from the lumbar fossa, spines of lower 6 thoracic vertebra. Here is the thoracic vertebra, lower 3 or 4 ribs and inferior angle of the scapula. This is the origin. Insertion into the floor of the bicipital groove. Bicipital groove is the intertuberculous sulcus. Same. Okay. So, and nerve supply is thoracodorsal nerve. This is nerve to latissimus dorsi. Action is adduction of the shoulder joint. Next is teres major. Here is the teres major. Origin is on the dorsal aspect and the inferior angle of the scapula. Insertion into the medial lip of the intertuberculous sulcus. So, intertuberculous sulcus has 3 muscles. Okay, lateral lip, insertion of pectoralis major, medial lip, insertion of teres major, and in the floor latissimus dorsi. Okay, so you can remember like lady between 2 majors. Okay, pectoralis major, teres major, and latissimus dorsi. So action is extends the arm from flex position, adducts and medial rotates the arm. Nerve supply is lower subscapular nerve. Root value C6, C7. Next is subscapularis. This is subscapular fossa, view from the anterior aspect. Medial 2/3 of the subscapular fossa and lateral border of the scapula. Okay, both part is giving origin to the subscapularis. Insertion into the lesser tubercle. Here is the greater tubercle. Over the greater tubercle, 3 muscles are attached: supraspinatus, infraspinatus, and teres minor. And at the lesser tubercle, subscapularis muscle is attached. So, what is the action? It stabilizes the shoulder joint and prevents anterior displacement of the shoulder joint. Helps in medial rotation and adduction of the arm. Next is nerve supply, upper and lower subscapular nerve. Root value is C5, C6. Next is infraspinatus. Here is infraspinatus below the spine. Infraspinous fossa of the scapula is the origin. Insertion into middle facet of the greater tubercle. Here is the greater tubercle of the humerus. Here is the insertion. Action is lateral rotation of the shoulder. Strengthen the shoulder by bracing the head of the humerus. Nerve supply is suprascapular nerve, okay, of the brachial plexus. C5, C6 is the root value. Next, what is rotator cuff? Rotator cuff, very important question for theory. Okay, rotator cuff muscles. Those 4 muscles attached over the greater tubercle and lesser tubercle. 4 muscles are there. they are fusing with the capsule of the shoulder joint and together forming the rotator cuff muscles. Okay, 4 muscles are there. The name given to the tendons of subscapularis, supraspinatus, infraspinatus and teres minor, which are fused to the underlying capsule of the shoulder joint. And what is the function of rotator cuff? It is important in stabilizing the shoulder joint. Okay, so if it is comes as a short note, you have to name these 4 muscles and also discuss the 4 muscles in details. The 4 points for each muscle. Okay, origin, insertion, nerve supply, action, like this. Now we go to the anterior flexor muscles of the forearm. Biceps brachii and coracobrachialis were originating from the tip of the coracoid process, and this is also a flexor muscle, okay, that we will learn during the humerus. So biceps brachii, see this is biceps brachii, flexor muscle of this elbow joint. It has 2 heads, long head from the supraglenoid tubercle, short head from the tip of the coracoid process. These 2 are joining to form the muscle belly and inserted over the radius. So long head supraglenoid tubercle of scapula, short head from the apex of the coracoid process, insertion into the radial tuberosity. Action is flexure of the supinated forearm, okay, and it is a powerful supinator of the partially flexed forearm. So these are the 2 main actions. Nerve supply is musculocutaneous nerve, also a branch of brachial plexus, root value C5, C6. Brachialis is a arm muscle we will learn during humerus, not discussing now. Next is triceps brachii. Triceps brachii, triceps means it arises from 3 heads, biceps arising from 2 heads. That's why the names are given, triceps arising from 3 heads. Okay, so long head, lateral head and medial head arises by 3 heads from which it takes its name, and origin of these 3 heads, long head originates from the infraglenoid tubercle of the scapula, lateral head from the ridge above, here is the lateral head, from the ridge above the spiral groove on the posterior surface of shaft of humerus. This we will discuss tomorrow in humerus. And medial head, lower half of posterior aspect, here is the medial head. So here is the lateral head, here is the medial head, and this is coming the long head. So this, all the 3 heads are fusing to form the muscle belly and insertion over the posterior aspect of upper surface of oligocrenon process of the ulna, okay. So medial head from lower half of posterior surface of shaft of humerus below the spiral groove, and all the fibers inserts into the posterior part of upper surface of oligocrenon process of ulna, and it is an extensor of the elbow joint. Nerve supply is radial nerve, also branch from brachial plexus. Okay, that's all. So in scapula, any queries are there? You have to first know the anatomical position and side determination. For that you have to remember the 3 points. What are the 3 points? Glenoid cavity is facing laterally, slightly forward and slightly upward. Plane of the scapula is forming 45-degree angle with the coronal plane, and tip of the coracoid process is projecting directly forward, okay. And you have to know the presenting parts and the muscle attachments and different attachments, ligamentous attachment. Presenting parts means the 3 borders, 3 surfaces, 2 surfaces, 3 angles and 3 processes. All those you have to tell whenever asked in your viva, okay. And scapular anastomosis comes in your theory paper. Rotator cuff muscles are important for your theory, okay. So these are important parts of the scapula. Understood? So you will be able to hold it in anatomical position. So this is scapula of right side, gun holding position, okay. And here is the scapula of the left side, left scapula, okay. and also you have to know the articulation and joint formed by the bone. So it articulates with the humerus like this, okay, forming the shoulder joint near the glenoid fossa, and articulates with the clavicle like this with the acromion process. Okay, understood? And borders are superior border, medial border, lateral border. Angles are superior angle, inferior angle, lateral angle. Processes are spinous process or spine of the scapula, acromion process and coracoid process. Our three fossas are supraspinous fossa, infraspinous fossa, subscapular fossa. Okay, understood? Muscle attachment here in this fossa, subscapularis. Along the medial border on the costal aspect, serratus anterior. On this supraspinous fossa, supraspinatus, infraspinous fossa, infraspinatus. On the dorsal aspect, along the medial border, levator scapulae, rhomboidus minor, rhomboidus major. Along the lateral border, teres minor, teres major. Here is latissimus dorsi. Supraglenoid tubercle, long head of biceps brachii, infraglenoid tubercle, long head of triceps brachii. Now we go to the spine. Spine, along the crest of the spine, upper lip, insertion of trapezius, lower lip, origin of the deltoid. We go to the acromion process. Acromion process, medial margin, insertion of trapezius, lateral margin, origin of deltoid. And tip of the acromion, coracoacromial ligament. Okay. And we go to the this coracoid process. Tip of the coracoid process, two muscles are originating, coracobrachialis and the short head of biceps. Which one is medial? Coracobrachialis is medial. Along the medial margin, there is attachment of the pectoralis minor. Okay. And along the lateral margin, coracoacromial ligament and coracohumeral ligament near the glenoid fossa at the root of this coracoid process. And here is the suprascapular notch converted into foramen by the transverse scapular ligament. Through this foramen passes the nerve and above this foramen passes the vessels. Okay, understood? So these are the summary of today's topic. Any queries? So prepare the scapula very carefully. Tomorrow I will ask questions from scapula. Okay? And everyone bring bones. Those who have those bone sets, bring the bones. Tomorrow you bring scapula, humerus, radius ulna. Okay? Today we will discuss humerus, and there is articulation of humerus with this scapula and radius ulna. Okay?